She was the only person who ever treated him like a human. He just never imagined he'd find her again behind a steering wheel, driving a cab. It had been a long week of boardroom battles and sleepless nights for Aaron Hayes, the sharp, cold CEO of a billion-dollar tech empire. He was known for making ruthless decisions and showing no emotion. But tonight, stuck in a rainstorm after his car service canceled, he wasn't a powerful businessman, just a tired man looking for a ride home. A yellow taxi pulled up, and he slid into the back seat without looking at the driver. But the second she spoke, "Where to, sweetheart?" he froze. That voice, it was warm, raspy, familiar. He leaned forward slowly. "Ms. Ruby?" The woman turned slightly, and her eyes widened. "Aaron? My little sunshine?" Aaron couldn't believe it. Ruby had been the elderly woman who used to live across the hall from him when he was just a scared, lonely kid in a rundown apartment. She gave him cookies when he had no dinner, comforted him when his mom worked late, and called him Sunshine, even when he felt like anything but. She laughed, clearly emotional. "Look at you now, all grown up and rich and fancy." He was stunned. "What are you doing driving a taxi?" "Bills don't pay themselves, sugar. My pension barely covers rent, so here I am," she said cheerfully, like it was no big deal. But to Aaron, it was. He sat back, completely silent, staring at the raindrops on the window, because nothing had shaken him more than seeing the one person who made him feel safe, now barely getting by, and pretending it was okay. The ride was quiet for a moment, the kind of quiet that held weight. Not awkward, but heavy with memories. Aaron's mind was spinning. He remembered how Ruby used to save extra food for him, how she helped him with homework when no one else cared, how she once sat outside his door all night when his mom didn't come home. And now, after all these years, she was the one struggling. "You could have called me," he said quietly. Ruby chuckled. "Called you? I didn't even know where you were, and besides, I wasn't going to go around bothering some big-time CEO." Aaron leaned forward. "You were never a bother. You were the only one who cared when no one else did." Ruby shrugged, brushing it off. "That's just what neighbors do." But Aaron knew better. He stared at the back of her seat, thinking. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Shoot," Ruby replied. "Why didn't you retire? I mean, you deserve to rest, not drive around strangers in this weather." She gave a small smile through the mirror. "I got sick last year. Hospital bills wiped out what little I had saved. I lost my place, too. But I ain't complaining. I've still got my legs, and I get to meet all kinds of people. Makes life interesting." Aaron's heart sank. The woman who once gave him everything had ended up with nothing. It didn't sit right, not even a little. As the cab pulled up outside his luxury building, he reached into his pocket to pay, but Ruby waved her hand. "Don't insult me. This one's on me for old time's sake." Aaron looked at her, speechless. Even now she was still giving. But what she didn't know was that he was about to give something back, something she never saw coming. Aaron didn't go inside right away. He stood by the curb, watching Ruby's cab disappear into the foggy evening. His mind raced, a mix of guilt, gratitude, and determination. This woman had shaped his childhood, reminded him what kindness looked like when he had nothing. And now that he had everything, money, power, a name, he couldn't just let her fade into struggle. The next morning, before the sun was even up, he called his assistant. "I want every piece of information on Ruby Jenkins. Where she lives, who owns the taxi company, her medical history if possible. Everything." It took less than an hour. Ruby lived in a shared apartment in a rundown neighborhood, worked 16-hour shifts, and was months behind on rent. Her hospital bills had piled up. She hadn't told anyone. Not one word. That afternoon, Aaron personally visited the landlord and paid off her rent for the year. Then he contacted the taxi company owner and quietly paid off her debts there too, making sure her job would be waiting whenever she wanted to return. But only if she wanted to. And finally, he made a call to his legal team and started drawing up something special. 2 days later, he called Ruby and asked her to meet him at a small cafe. When she arrived, he stood up and pulled out a chair like she was royalty. She gave him a confused look. "I hope you don't mind me doing a little digging," he began. Ruby narrowed her eyes, suspicious. "What did you do, Aaron?" He slid a thick envelope across the table. She opened it, her hands trembling. It was a deed. Her name was on it. A small but beautiful house, fully paid off, in a peaceful neighborhood. Her lips parted, but no sound came. "There's more," Aaron said gently. "Inside that house is a piano. I remember you always wanted to teach music. I've set up a scholarship program in your name. You'll be the one running it." Ruby stared at him, tears brimming. "I don't want charity," she whispered. "This isn't charity," he said. "This is thank you." And for the first time in years, Ruby Jenkins let herself cry. Not from sadness, but from finally being seen. Aaron watched her silently, his heart heavier than he expected. There were boardrooms where he'd made billion-dollar decisions without blinking. But this moment, with Ruby breaking down in front of him, shook something in him. She wiped her tears and finally spoke, her voice trembling. "I was just proud of you, Aaron. That's all I ever wanted. I didn't need anything in return." He shook his head gently. "But I needed this. I needed to remember where I came from. Who reminded me what compassion looked like when my parents couldn't? You didn't just feed me, Ruby. You made me feel safe." She looked away, overwhelmed, but he continued. "There's something else. I want you to come live with me. The house is yours if you want it. But my daughter, Lily, she needs someone like you. Someone real. Someone warm." Ruby chuckled through her tears. "I haven't raised a kid in decades." Aaron smiled. "That's okay. I haven't been a son in a long time either." She looked at him, then down at the deed again, then back up with softened eyes. "You sure you're not just trying to buy your way out of guilt?" He leaned back and smiled. "Maybe. But even if I am, I still meant every word." A week later, Ruby moved into her new home. Lily took to her instantly, laughing at her jokes, begging to hear her sing. Ruby's piano echoed through the halls like a heartbeat, filling the house with life it hadn't known in years. Aaron, for the first time in forever, stopped checking his phone at dinner. He'd sit beside them, watching as Lily played and Ruby laughed, and feel something return to him. A part of himself he thought he had lost forever. Because sometimes the richest rewards come not from fortune or fame, but from remembering the hands that once held you when you had nothing.